Good morning, traders. Welcome to Trading Together. I'm Mel Gacee. Today is Tuesday, March the 24th. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to another fun, crazy day of trading. As we started this morning, we started with a big gap down, and now we are actively trying to fill this gap. If you are here this morning, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so grateful that you're here. It's so much more fun to have friends to trade with than to trade alone. Trading can be a lonely profession. This is a place where we want to build community. I am here to teach and to train, and we will take some trades together if the setup arises. So if you have any comments or questions, I would love it if you drop them in the chat. I'm happy to answer those. And we'll do some market analysis. And again, we'll take some trades if we can. All right, guys. Roger is here this morning. Fast times at Ridgemont High. Yep, we're getting some funny chart movements right now. We're going to analyze that in just a minute. Val is here. Good morning. Craig is here. Hello. Gavilan. Hello. And let's see, Val saying, what is with the extreme candles? Yep, well, this is partly due to some extreme moves in both directions. And let's see, Gavilan saying it's fun to be here. Thanks, Gavilan. I appreciate that. All right, Roger saying, I know, right, Val? 3 puts in 3 minutes. Yeah, or 3 points. Yeah. Tiki Turkey is here. Dan is here. Good morning. And Craig, wish I could give you 2 thumbs up. I appreciate you so much. I do appreciate you. All right. So let's get into this. We were struggling to find some direction this morning, but it looks like we seem to have found a direction, and that is up. So again, we opened with a pretty large gap down, and now we at a gap fill. So have we actually filled the gap? Let me take a peek here. 35. Yep, looks like this little spike right here came up and just tagged that gap. And now we are just kind of hanging out here building this top. So we need to see if it's going to give us another leg up. The main target overhead for the bulls is going to be recapturing that daily 200 moving average. That's a big deal. Could we run up and capture that? I think we could. It is sitting at, let's give it a peek here, 66.26, I think last I checked, but don't quote me. Let me look it up here. Let's get over here to our daily. All right, 66.29 at this point, 26 right in here. So yeah, 66, 27. It's moving. That's why it's hard to pinpoint it right down to the penny. It moves, right? It's a moving average, right? So it is moving. And we do have a good ways to fill that, right? So a solid 50 points overhead. Now, could we do that? Certainly we could. This candle is starting healthier, right? This morning at the open, it was looking a little weaker, but right now we're getting some push, some strength. So let's see what they do here. They're building a little top. So I want to see what happens with that. David Neely is here. Good morning. Roger has it at 66.14. I don't have it at 66.14, Roger. But you know, like you said, different platforms. This is a simple moving average, not an exponential. And I have it sitting right at 66.27. And the reason I use exponentials in just about everything, I prefer the exponential moving average. However, on the 100 and the 200, I use simples because that's what the industry uses. So a lot of algorithms, big money is looking at these 100, 200 simple moving averages. And so those are the only two on my chart that I track as simples. Okay. All righty. Let's see. Craig, could you please read your time? I sure will, Craig. And if you would tell me, please, what your delay is, I would greatly appreciate it. So my time is 11:06 and 7 seconds Eastern time. And Roger, the 9, the 21 are EMAs, and then the 50, the 100, and the 200 are SMAs. Yes, and I actually will use the 50 EMA, but you would be more correct to use a 50 simple because, again, it is an industry standard moving average. So, all right, 7 seconds. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate your help with that. 7 is just a bit long. I don't love it. I don't love that we've got a 7 second delay. That's a little bit too long. And I think that's what somebody else had said yesterday was what the delay was that they had. So I don't love that. I do not. All right, so we are a good bit elevated over the VWAP. We did get this crazy big candle here that went from 652 up to 654. So we got like a 20-point push on that candle on big volume. You can see right here, big volume. So right now the direction is up. That is what we're getting. So at the open, we had been trending down. Let's zoom out to the 15 just for a minute because it's important to know where we've been to figure out where we're going, right? So let's look at our 15 here, 15-minute chart. And I'll zoom out as best I can. What do you guys see here? Right now, I see range. But what we've been getting is this downward move for the last 2, 3, 4 days, right? This is Tuesday, so that includes last week. So Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. These black backgrounds indicate regular trading hours, and the gray backgrounds indicate after market hours. But since the SPY runs almost 24/7, I like to see both because what happens after hours definitely influences what happens in regular market hours. So what we have is, again, downward, 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 bottomed at 641. We got a bottom. Then we got this Trump tweet that sent us up through the roof. Crazy day that we had yesterday. Huge 200-point move pre-market. And then ever since then, looks like a little bit of a downward slant. But really, if you look sideways, it's a bit rangy, right? So we're kind of in this Friday range is kind of where we're sitting, moving into the Thursday range. So if we zoom in a bit and focus on these recent 15-minute candles, let's see what we can see. What is this looking like on the 15-minute chart? Stretch these out a bit. We are making lower highs and lower lows. Very subtle lower highs and lower lows. Since this crazy, wild candle that we got here on the pre-market Sunday night. So here's the high, lower high, lower high. Right now it's a lower high, but we don't know if it's going to remain a lower high. But what we do see here is lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. This is still a downtrending pattern. So we've got to be careful. And we do have an elevated VIX. Even though it is getting knocked down a bit today, we had a high on the VIX of almost 28. That's pretty high. But it's been getting knocked down a bit here. So we have to pay attention to that. So that combined with this somewhat downward trending chart is, it gives us reason to be cautious, right? However, these recent 15-minute candles are giving us upward movement. So as we look at today, we can see upward movement. And there we go. Looks like we are pushing it up again. We've got a high right here. We are almost filling that gap. Let me get over to my ES. Again, we filled the gap with a wick, but let's see if we can get a close above that gap fill. That will cement our upward movement. All right, so Freaky had an 8-second delay, but when I reset the app and stream, it went down to 5. Thanks, Freaky, for sharing that. I appreciate it. All right, Roger, my SPX 5100 SMA are entering a death cross. Yep, they are. Are you looking at the daily there, Roger? All right, so here is, look at this little top that we're building here. We haven't, like I said, we wicked up to the gap fill and then kind of fell just down just a bit. We're still just slightly negative, only down 7 points after a really pretty big downturn. Okay, Roger's saying, yeah, yes, you can see that on the daily. And I'll show that to you in just a minute. But you are correct, Roger. We are entering into some pretty negative looking charting on the daily. It's pretty negative looking. And if the bulls really don't get the lead out and recapture the 200 quickly, we could see some waterfall selling on the way down. But today they are really trying. They're really trying. So let's see what we get. Daily SPX currently below the 200, not showing any bull. Well, it is below the 200, but we do see some bull. We've got, like I said, about 70 points to get up there and recapture that. And I think they could do that today. It would take a pretty big effort, but I think it could happen. I am focused on this top right here. So let me move this over to the minute, and then we'll go back to the daily to address what you're talking about there, Roger, because that is important. What the daily looks like at this moment is super important. All right. It did cross over the 200 yesterday for a little bit. Yes, it did. And so what we need to figure out here is this nothing more than a dead cat bounce and we're going to continue back down? Or are they really going to give us a push here and try to recapture that 200? That's the big question. Nobody knows, right? We don't know the answer to that. Exactly what you're saying, Roger. We did come up and try to recapture it yesterday. It was a real strong push. We really, really tried. But no, it fell back down. Now we're trying again today. We're forming a green candle. We have a lower wick. That is bullish, right? The open was bearish because we gapped way down. However, yes, gapped down. However, we've really pulled up off of that bottom. We're about halfway up the candle. So that is fairly bullish, but we've got a ways to travel to regain this 200. May not happen today. We might just get this inside candle. It may just wind up looking like this inside candle. I do think it feels like we could be pushing for more upward movement. But really, like I said, nobody knows. the big daily trend is downward and has been for weeks. So since really end of January, we really are pretty much downward the whole rest of the way. Now the death cross, that won't happen for a little while, but we did get a death cross of the 50 over the 100 back here on the 13th. 13th was a Friday. It's hard to see on my chart because my 50 is so dark, but basically here's my 50, here's my 100. So the green crossing over, or the blue crossing down below the green. So the 50 crossing below the 100, that is known as a death cross. Basically any shorter term average crossing over a longer term average could be called a death cross, but in the industry, it's usually 50 over the 100, 100 over the 200, 50 over the 200, that sort of thing. All right, here's a push here. And let's see, where are we on this gap fill? Getting close, 3 points away. So yeah, the 50 is down below the 100. That was a death cross. We will get another as the 50 continues down and the 200 continues up. Now the 200 will continue up for a little while because it is a 200-day moving average. So it's going to take some time. It's like a big old ship. It's going to take some time to turn it downward. Basically 200 days or somewhere thereabouts, right? Okay. Freaky. Biggest put wall of the day's expiration is 6:55. They could let this go all the way up to the calls at 6:59 to 6:60. Thank you, Freaky. What are you looking at for put walls and call walls? Just curious. What are you using to measure that? And is that based on gamma or is that based on volume? Because those numbers they do matter. These put and call walls, they do matter. And you can define a put wall with volume, options, positioning, or with gamma. Sorry, taking my vitamins. Okay, you're using gamma. Great. What product are you using, Freaky? I'm just curious to measure gamma. All right, another push here, trying to fill this gap. And as soon as we go green, we can see a pretty sizable push up. Let's see what we get. Let me get back to my futures. Insider finance, relatively responsive. Nice. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Freaky. I appreciate it. All right. I think once we break this gap, once we fill this gap, we got one more point. Come on, you can do it. Once we fill that gap, I think we could get another green push here. So let's see what happens. Nice recovery of this overnight low. This yellow line right here is our overnight low. So the bulls have really been pushing all morning. First thing this morning, it was hard to tell, right? We were getting this in and out. I got stuck in a put down here on this break of the overnight low. I stopped out. And ever since then, we sort of went sideways, but just with a slight upward trajectory. And then after this candle, it's really tried to give us this gap fill. So now we just got to be patient because it is moving slowly. Too slowly. And our VIX is just slightly moving down, 25.9, down below 26. That's a first. All right, Johnny Tran. I remember you teach us to watch a gamma in TOT, Thinkorswim, to see option call or sell side to see what side stronger. Could you show us again? You bet, Johnny. And I think what you're thinking of, Johnny, is the volume on the call and put side. And I will show you that right now. And I do use that together with gamma. It is a similar, it's a similar thing. Volume is actually where where traders, all traders are trading, right? So the volume is going to show us what the highest volume, the highest volume will show us what is the most traded option, right? So I'll show you where to see that. And then gamma shows us where dealers are hedging in case of a market move. So dealers are always having to hedge their positions based on how the market moves. So that's just slightly different. Gamma is slightly different. And gamma, you can see gamma on Thinkorswim, but you've got to do some math. You've got to add it up. So usually I pay for a product. I was using Cheddar Flow. Now I'm using Unusual Whales. I might go back to Cheddar Flow, to be honest. Unusual Whales has a lot of data and it's got some nice API feeds and it's just a nice product. But I do really like the dashboard on Cheddar Flow. It really gives you some easy to visualize levels, which I do appreciate. All right. Donna and I got 10% on a 654 call. Very good, Roger. It's moving slow, slowly. So unfortunately, it's hard to make money when these candles are little, but good for you getting that 10%. Nicely done. All right. Yeah, I'll show you, Johnny. Right over here is where we find it. And you can see, you can modify, if you're on Thinkorswim, you can modify this options chain to show you to create what you want to see here, right? So right up here on Thinkorswim, you can modify by dropping this down, and it's going to let you pick the customized column sets. And then you can add the columns that you like. I keep volume, open interest, delta, and gamma. But you can put whatever you like there. There's a lot of different choices, tons of choices, right? All kinds of them. And what I'm looking at here is volume. So this volume column is what shows us how many, it's cumulative, so it doesn't go backwards. It's how many of this option have been traded today. So right here, you can see on the put side, the highest option traded is this 250 level, 650 level on the put side. On the call side, the highest option traded is the, right here, 655 calls. Interesting, isn't it, that we have so much volume at the 650 level? It makes you kind of wonder, are we heading back down there? Or have we already been there and these volumes are going to continue to grow on the call side? It's a dynamic number. It changes frequently. I mean, by the second, really. And so it's really, you can never really be fully sure what's going on because it's changing so quickly. But it is a tool. It does give you an idea. All right, here's our gap fill. And just as I said, we were going to get a jump. We did. We got a jump after we filled the gap. We are up 7 points. These options are not moving. My goodness, I don't know if you are experiencing the same thing, but they are not moving. Very slowly. All right, still giving us a climb. We're up here 8 points over the flat line. Very nice. Let's see how much higher they're going to take us. 65.93 on the SPX. $6.50 zone right here is the one I was talking about. We've already been there. So just because that volume is the biggest, that doesn't mean we have to go back there. It just means that there were a lot of people putting some money on 650 puts. We've already been there. Does not mean we have to go back. All right. Let's see where they want to take us. We've got, at this point, maybe 40 points to hit that 200, 40 points overhead. It's really seeming very possible, right? It's looking more and more possible that that is where we are headed. Very strong upward push right now. It's given us a little slowdown here, but I think we're going to continue upward is what it looks like to me. Andrew, are we going higher or will it crash? Andrew, it looks to me like we're going higher. I think they're going for a 200 recovery. I mean, that is what it looks like. Certainly it could crash, but I do think we're going to try to recover that 200. And like I said, it's about 40 points overhead. Could we go get that? Yes, we absolutely could. And we can see the leaderboard is also starting to perk up here, right? We've got, hey, welcome back, Silver. Silver coming up a little bit. Tesla up 1%. Apple up almost 1%. The Russell has gone nice and green, 0.8% elevated. Gold is up just a little bit. The Dow is up 0.3. We, SPY, up 0.09. So we're kind of dragging up the rear here. And, well, Qs are dragging up the rear. So Qs are sitting, that's NASDAQ, sitting at 0.16 negative. The mags are brightening up. Still a bit red, but they are well off their lows. We do still have some of the Mag 7 coming down. So Amazon down 1%, Broadcom down 1%, Meta down 1.4%. Bit of a mixed bag. That's why the Mags is still kind of floating here at negative 0.7, because we've got a little bit of a mixed bag here. All right, right back to our flat line. Uh-oh, Andrew, are you in puts? All right, moving back up. See if we get a push off here. Not in calls, unfortunately. I got you, Andrew. Hey, if you're not in a losing trade, you're winning. Right? All right, so we've got some volume growing here at the 653 calls, which is really interesting because we're sitting at 656. The volume this morning is really strange. All right, guess what I like Well, guess what? I like the pain. Okay. All right, so just kind of slowing down right here at the flat line, up 3 points. Oil coming up too, which is interesting. Crude oil up 3, almost 4%. Just kind of hanging out here. All right, getting some downward signals. Do we want to try for some puts here? Little bit red. I'm going to try for a very quick put here at the 656 level. I'm in. I'm out. 7%, punch it. It was a nice little quick win. And again, this is a bit of a counter trade, counter trend trade. So I don't stay in those very long. Usually I'm in and out pretty quickly. Oh, actually that was 9%, guys. All right. Roger, good job. Thank you. Andrew, I hope. Okay, Roger. In the money call volume tells me they're not risking a huge upside, but some upside from here. Yeah, could be, Roger. Again, the main target right now, bulls really have to get that 200 under control. Otherwise, we really could see some waterfall selling, and we don't want to see that, but we definitely could. All right, let's see if that stops the move there. See if it was just a little diversion before a leg up, or are we coming down? Okay, it looks like we're pushing off a little bit here. Just again, really fighting the flat line right now, down 1 point, just about to recover and go green again. Here we go. Another push. Still flat. See if we can get this to push. Here we go. Back green again. We could consider calls here. Looking at the 656 calls. I'm not in them just yet. See what we get here. Sitting at 2 points positive. 200-day SMA SPX is at 66.50. I don't think so, Roger. I'll take a look at what you're saying, but I don't think the 200 is at 66.50. I have it at like 66.26 or 27. But I'll take a look at that in just a second. I'm actually just getting close to maybe taking a call here. All right, just kind of hovering here at the flat line. No real strong push yet. All right, looks like we're getting there. Come on. Let's see if we can get a move up. There we go. Up 4 points from the flat line. Starting to get some call signals here. Not yet. A push. All right. We'll take a quick look, Roger, at that SPX 200-day moving average. And you are right to keep your eye on it, Roger, because that is the target. I'm showing it right here at 66.26 or 66.27 on the SPX. So we've got about 40 points ish, 35 to 40. All right, there's a push. So I do think that's a pretty likely target today. 40 points overhead, 30, 40. All right, come on now. Let's do this. They're just playing here. We need them to get going, and I think they will. I feel like they will. They're just playing here, playing at the flat line. The sentiment is definitely bullish today. If we can recover the 200, we could see an even farther bounce in the next couple of days. If they reject the 200 again, then we could see selling. So the 200 really is a big deal. Really, really is. Feels to me like they're going to try to make a run for it, but they're just taking their time right here at this, right in this flat line. They're kind of up and down about 10 points. And our overnight high is overhead at 657.6, like 16 points overhead. All right, so I really would like to try for a call here, but it's just not pushing too hard right now. It's just kind of playing right here. We're back flat again, 2 points over the flat line. Looking like a bit of an M, isn't it? You guys see that? Starting to look a bit like an M. That can be a bearish pattern. This would be a little bit of a wonky double top, but here's a top here. Right now, here's a top here. So it's sort of a double top. It's more like a lower low, lower high. I think they want to push up through here, but we need to make sure. So we're right here again, just 2 points over the flat line. Let's look at our leaderboard. UNH finally got its act together. Thank you. Apple up 1%, Tesla up 0.9%. The Russell's still hanging out there at 0.8% elevated. Gold is up 0.58. The Dow is up 0.3. And the Qs are still dragging up the rear here at 0.2 negative. We're just at our flat line, just sitting there. So we need some direction here. If we get another push up over this top, I might jump on this call. And again, I'm looking at the 656 level. Now, if this double top plays out and we drop down, we could pivot over to puts real quick. All right, David, finger getting tired sitting on the trigger. I hear you, David. I hear you. All right. Looks like we're trying. Come on. I twitched. You know, if your finger is on the trigger and you twitch, you can get in accidentally. And I've done that more than once. So usually I'll push my cursor over so I don't twitch and do something that I don't want to do. It's interesting that we're seeing, okay, pay attention, guys. Look at the last 3 candles are green on the VIX, and the last 3 candles are green on the SPY. That's a bit of a danger signal there. So let's watch carefully here. Moving up since 1138. Okay. By the way, I'm on my 5th up fib on the 1 minute for today. Okay. Wild, right? This VIX is giving me concern. I think we might be fixing for a drop. I'm going to pivot over to puts here real quick at the 656 level. Sorry, 657. Look at that VIX. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm watching. I'm careful right now. All right, Andrew took a put. All right, Andrew. I don't have signals for a put just yet, but good luck. I hope it works out. A little push here. Here we go. All right. Getting a little bitty call signal here, but not quite. Starting to. All right, there we go. Six points up. Okay, we're just coming up on this top. 65.93. They should be pushing for 6,600 here at the very least on this next level up. BD is here. Good morning. Really need to stop riding the 21 EMA for a put on the 1 minute unless we get a massive reversal. It's a good point, BD. It has been riding the 2021. And could we get a reversal? Yeah, we could. The VIX is acting just a little wonky, just a little bit. I'm a little concerned about it. But we are pushing right now. Up at 9 points over our flat line, or 0.2%. And they are taking their time to climb this, very, very slow. Right at the top of the VWAP here, this is the outer band, the upper band. We're not quite overbought yet, but we're getting close on the RSI. We did beat this top here. All right, taking 10% profit. All right, Roger, do it. They're not paying this morning, so take your profit when you see it. That is the way to trade these slow-moving scalps. Great job, Roger. All right, little bitty movement here. All right, Andrew had a 50-50 shot. Yes, absolutely true, Andrew. All right, little push here again. Sitting at 6 points over the flat line. Let's see what everybody else is doing. IWM looks like it's still kind of doing the same hover. It's climbing just a little bit, very slowly. All right, getting some put signals here. All right, Dan got 9% on a call moving. All right, moving your stop up. Good luck, Dan. Getting some put signals here. I'm looking at the 657s. I'm going to give this put a try here. I am in. No bounce, guys. No bouncy bounce. There we go. There we go. There we go. I'm out. Punch it. Oh, that was beautiful. That was a 10 percenter right there. Very nice. Look at that drop. Oh, that's gorgeous. We love it. Very nice. Look at that VIX bounce, guys. You see it? That's what I was kind of getting those weird feelings about the VIX. All right. Some of us do. Do what, David? Okay, Daniel, looks like a double top drop on the Qs. Yep, it could be. Dan, that's exactly what I was pointing out earlier. Thank you. Yeah, some of us do what? Love it. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you in calls, David? Oh, sorry, David. Those calls were weird. They were not paying. I noticed the premium was really not moving very much. That was challenging. All right, getting a little slowdown here at the 100 period moving average. Let's see how far they want to take this back down. How hard are they going to move this down? Let's give this a look. Or is this just a little shakeout before another big move upward? All right, we are getting close to the end of the stream, so let's talk about the rest of the day. So what we have right now is a market trending upward, right? Since basically about right before 10 Eastern. Higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher low, higher low, higher low. So far, we are still in this uptrend. It is still intact. And we need to see if they're going to come up and come beat this top. It's feeling a little bit challenging to trade this for sure. So be sure that you're watching your indicators, right? Be sure that you're double checking. Go when at all possible, go with the trend. And, if we're going to change the trend, make sure you can see this trend actually getting broken, right? You can see the line, right? You see this imaginary line going from here to here. If it breaks down from here, that does begin to break the uptrend. Also, if it breaks the VWAP, it breaks the uptrend. So bear that in mind. As of right this minute, the uptrend is barely intact, barely. So if they bounce it from here, we could get a higher high. So just keep that in mind. If they bounce it from here, watch your MACD, watch your moving averages, and do not trade on FOMO or false moves, because that is where they trap you. All right. Stick with your indicators, watch your VWAP, watch your trend, and you're going to be just fine. All right, guys, it was a pleasure. We took one little winning trade today for 7.7%. So that was okay. I'm happy with that. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Andrew thinks we're heading farther down. Could be, Andrew. Keep your eye on this trend. They're holding it right now. But we will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for joining. It was my pleasure to have you all here, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you so much, and bye for now.